Address?
3770 Hodges Lane, St. George, Kansas.
Branch of service? The division?
The engineering division, A division, which was for auxiliaries.
Highest rank?
Machinist mate first class.
And date of service?
I went in May the 7th, 1940, and I was discharged on August the 10th of 1945.
So the day the war ended. And you served then in the Pacific?
Yes, I did. I served the Pacific.
And medals that you can remember that you won?
Well, I never did get all the medals, but I think there was in Midway, and then I got a good conduct medal. I got other medals, but I don't know. A lot of them I never even got.
Okay. Well, what were you doing before you went into the Navy?
Well, I was a farm boy, and things was pretty rough. And I was making 50 cents a day and my board.
That was during the Depression.
That was back in 1936, you bet. And then I did other little jobs, worked on the farm. And I did get to $1 a day. Finally in 1940, or well, a little before 1940, I was working for a farmer that was a dairyman. We milked the cows by hand. And I was making $1.25 a day. And there was, in the wintertime there, one day in particular that he said, well, he said, you ain't got much to do today. He says, you just well clean out the barns and haul the manure out. And I got the old horses out and the pitchfork and the manure spreader. And I hauled 22 loads of manure. And I got my $1.25, so I got about a nickel a load. So that's when I decided to join the Navy.
Yeah, that sounds like a good decision.
Then I drawed $21 a month for 3 months. So, but I did have my board and my meals and everything. So I was just as well off with $21 as I was at $1.25.
So where did your boot camp, your training take place?
I went through Great Lakes training station there in Great Lakes, Illinois.
And from there, where did they transfer you then?
Well, from there I went to the USS California, a battleship, and I caught her in Bremerton, Washington, and that would have been in the fall. I suppose I don't know just how late it would have been, but from there we went to Pearl Harbor after the ship was overhauled and worked on. And Pearl Harbor was our district, or a place where our ships was all congregating at that time, because we knew we was going to get into war of some kind, and they moved the whole fleet into Pearl Harbor.
The entire Pacific Fleet?
Yes.
And then you were at Pearl Harbor on December 7th?
Yes. We had been out on maneuvers, and on November the 27th, we was coming in, and we ran into well, I was told from the boys on my board ship, on the guns, that we ran into unidentified submarines off of Diamond Head that night. Well, we didn't come into Pearl until daylight. The guns was all manned. We was on the alert from that day until the 5th day of December. The alert was called off, and they hit us on the 7th.
So 2 days after the alert was called
Yes.
off, then that's when the attack occurred.
But they were notified out there that they were scared that they was going to do a bunch of sabotaging. And the Army, Navy wasn't any better to put the fleet there in the harbor, but the Army took all their planes from Hickam Field, Schofield, all the different airfields, lined them up in a nice big line so they could watch them, for sabotage. They could just drive around with a little old pickup or something, and kind of keep an eye on them. Well, when the Japs hit, Dave took them all right out of that line.
They just had to strafe one line and got them
just,
all.
They just shot them planes all to pieces. I mean, we lost a bunch of them.
Yeah.
And we also had some B-19s coming in from the States that particular morning. We had some soldier boys who were setting up a new radar outfit, and they was playing with it, and they spotted the Jap planes coming in. They called in, talked to a Navy officer, told him what they had seen out there, and he said, well, don't worry about it, he says, we got a bunch of planes coming in today, but they were the Jap planes that was coming in. So, and of course this was a Navy officer that hadn't been in very long. He didn't know what the score was either, so he never reported any further than that.
So might have had some preparations.
Absolutely. If we could have had them guns, old man, and we could have put up a solid sheet of steel up there in the air that them planes could not got through. Very few, if any.
Yeah.
We could have. But we was just had our breakfast over. We was getting ready for church. It was 7:55 in the morning. My station was back on the third deck between number 3 and number 4 barbette. These are the big guns on the back. And I was about halfway to my station when the Japs hit us. So I operated air compressors, a big air compressor, you know, for the guns and stuff, you know, for ship. That was my job. The ship was an electric drive ship. Well, when they hit us, I think we got 3 torpedoes, 1 direct bomb hit, two bombs that was near misses, which tore the plates up as bad as a torpedo. And where we had been on the alert, I'm getting my story ahead of myself.
That's okay.
But
You're fine. You're doing fine.
We was going to have an inspection, our double bottoms on the ship. All of our manhole plates was taken off. They were just sitting on there. It was all, the nuts were taken off, so they could just lift the plates up and go down and inspect the double bottoms. But when they hit us, all the water rushed in, and the plates just lifted up, and we went down. So there was really no reason we ever should have been sitting with our double bottoms.
Yeah.
I don't.
Yeah. Especially if you'd have known that the planes, those were Japanese planes coming in. Yeah. Well, how'd you get out of that ship?
Well, we stayed on our station until the oil and the water kept coming in. And, well, electric drive, everything is run with electricity. Well, when they hit us, they knocked all of our electricity out. We were sitting in the dark. We couldn't even get our ammunition to the top side with the conveyors and stuff like that. And they manhandled it. What do you call it? Bucket brigade. One guy would hand the shell to the other, clear from the ammunition room, clear to the top side. Midships, we took a 500-pound bomb, and we had a ladder. We had the ladder, one going up, one going down. Well, this was all passed up, boys on the ladder and everything. But when this bomb hit, it just chopped them boys to pieces. I mean, it just blew them right through the ladder. And it got a bunch of the boys there that was passing up the ammunition.
Yeah.
And that ship was built in 1920. The paint onto it was quite thick.
Yeah.
Lead paint. And when that bomb went off, I mean, that's a solid fire, a lot of heat. It ignited all this paint. And that whole compartment burned for, well, a whole day or better.
Just the paint, the paint burned.
And that was where our sleeping quarters was, all the mattresses and everything, you know. Yeah, we had quite a fire.
I bet.
And then on my station, well, when the water started coming in, I walked over to one of the shaft alleys, and I looked down in the shaft alley, and one of the boys was just staying ahead of the water. The water was coming in, and he was just hanging on the ladder. As the water came in, he kept going up. Well, when it got up to the top, Well, I had crude oil and stuff all over the deck. And I got permission to leave my station to get out of there, you know, because the water was coming in.
Mm-hmm.
You couldn't hardly stand on that crude oil. Oh, that was terrible.
It was just so
Oh,
slick.
it was so slick, I tell you, it was pathetic.
Yeah.
And I ended up, there was about 2 or 3 officers and 2 or 3 other sailors that we were sitting right in front of the Admiral's cabin. We sat there till, possibly 9 o'clock or in that neighborhood. Well, I'm getting ahead of my story again. I was talking to my boss. He was running a set of air compressors just like I was, only his was forward, between number 1 and number 2 bar bed. And he was telling about, we had these JV phones on, you know, and he was telling about the water was up to his knees coming in there. And pretty soon he says, water was up to the neck. I told him, I said, Scotty, get the hell out of there. I said, there ain't nothing you can do because your electric motors are all underwater.
Yeah.
There's no way you could ever do anything. And he said, no, he said, I'm going to stay here as long as I can supply air to the guns. Well, the only thing he had was just his supply in the tanks of what he ever had, you know. But him and another little fellow, boy, they drowned it right there in a whole repair party. And we had 2 boys out of my division that was in the freshwater hole where we had to evaporate and meet our own water, you know, drinking water and everything. They were clear down in the bottom of the ship. The ship was all dug down. I mean, that's where they died, was in their bunks. But they did live for, I don't know, 3 or 4 weeks before they died because they had a ham down there and they had a bucket of eggs and they lived on that. But when they raised the ship up, they were in their bunks. They were dead. Just lack of oxygen.
There was just no way to get to them.
No way of getting them out. And that's where they took a couple of torpedoes and they figured that they were probably dead there anyway. But all the boys was in the brig and at repair party it killed all in. And then it was about 9 o'clock or 9:20, they passed the word to abandon ship because we was listing band. If we thought we was going to roll over, the Oklahoma did roll over in about 9 minutes, capsized. Yeah. You thought that that's what we was going to do, is capsize. So they took anchor chains and tied it so that the ship wouldn't roll over, you know. But then it got to listing pretty heavy and they passed the word to abandon ship, and well, we got up on the top side. And the second wave of Jap planes came over and they started bombing us again. So they told us to get back below decks. So we stayed there until about 10:20. And at 10:20, why, passed the word to abandon ship that time, and we got up on top side, took our shirts off. I think I kept my pants on, my shoes. Over the side I went. Never even grabbed a life jacket or nothing. I don't think any of us did. But we had to swim through oil and fire for quite a little space there. And then I was over to Ford Island. And I was trying to find some dry clothes or something decent. And I went through a big mess hall. Fed everybody there on Ford Island. And that was the tables, the benches, and everything was laying with dead boys in it. That mess hall was full.
They turned it into kind of the morgue or something.
Yeah. And I tried to clean that oil and stuff off of me with sand, salt water, and a bar soap. And I was kind of raw when I got that. I didn't get that done all too good either.
I bet that was, that was a challenge.
And then we did salvage our anti-aircraft guns off the boat deck. Took them over and set them over on Hickam Field. Well, I was one of the engineers. I had to supply air to the guns. So I was the only engineer that went with that group to set them guns up and train Army personnel from Hickam Pickle to take over the guns. And I stayed there for, I don't know, it seemed like a long time, but I couldn't have been any more than about 6 months if we was there that long. And then Admiral Nimitz, he called us out there when we had the Army boys trained to take over the guns. And I was the only one out of that group that went back to the California. I had to report to the chief engineer. And I helped clean the ship up, get her in dry dock. And after we got her cleaned up and repaired enough to get back to the States, we brought her back to the States.
So you went from Pearl Harbor back to California?
Back to the California. And then we come back to Bremerton then after, to get the ship repaired.
So you stayed with the California after Pearl Harbor?
Well, I stayed with her until the fall of 1940, I believe. No, 44. Could have been, I think it was 43 or 44. And then I was transferred to a destroyer. And then USS Haley. But I never did get to go out on her because I ended up with scarlet fever. And they sent me up to the hospital. So she left without me, and then they kind of figured, I guess, with my heart and everything, that they weren't going to put me out back out on the ships or something. They left me on shore duty. So I went to North Bend, Oregon. I was supposed to relieve a boy there that was a machinist made first class. But he was a qualified diver, and they wanted to keep him because that was a little airfield there where he salvaged or picked up boys off of planes that wrecked there in the water, So they asked me if they could get me closer to home or closer to where my wife was. I think I was married at that time. So they sent me to Tillamook, Oregon. And I stayed there on shore duty for, I don't know just how long, maybe a year. And then I was sent back. They was going to reclassify us. Either we went to sea or we was discharged. I went back to the hospital in Astoria, Oregon, and they decided to just discharge me, medical discharge.
So that's when you got out?
And that's when I got out. And from there, back as a civilian, I went to farming. And I farmed until 62. That's when the farmers were starting to get big,
Yeah.
I'd had to buy all big machinery and get a lot more land to farm the way they was going. I managed a co-op for about, from 54 to 63, I believe it was. And from there, I took a job as a salesman for BM&B in Iowa. I traveled the state of Iowa. And Pepsi-Cola from Marysville come up and offered me more money, my own transportation, and all my expenses and everything. So I went to work for Pepsi-Cola until 72. And 72, I retired.
Now, I want to back up just a little bit because you mentioned that you're at Midway, and I think you told me at Guadalcanal. So
I was not at either place.
Oh, you weren't?
I was not at either place. No, but when the war first started, why the Japs were very good. I mean, as far as they did a lot of night training, and we lost a lot of ships, and so did they, as far as that matter goes. But we had a rangefinder. But after we got this new rangefinder put on the ships, and did enough night battling, why we could hit them. You bet your life, we got them good.
So that invention helped more than anything.
You bet. Because you didn't have to see them. You just put the rangefinder on them and you had them.
Well,
And then Midway was the turning point of the war. The Yorktown had just came in. She had a hole in the side of her, I suppose it was 20 feet long, 12, 14 feet high, a big hole in her. And we had 2 other carriers that was in Pearl Harbor. It had to go to Midway because they knew that the Japs was heading for Midway. You don't take Midway. And they had to send the Yorktown out too. They had her patched up enough to float, and that's about it.
yeah,
But she carried her planes out there, and we lost the Yorktown out there at Midway.
yeah. But like you said, that was the turning point.
That was a turning point of the war.
Well, anything else? Any other stories or reminiscences you want to put on the tape?
Well, I don't know that my ship was hit again with one of them kamikazes. But they had the great turkey shoot. I mean, out there around the Philippines. And we sunk a lot of their ships and planes, and but they lost all their good pilots, and all they had was just a bunch of greenhorns, flying them planes and stuff. They were pretty easy to shoot down.
A little easier than those experienced pilots at Pearl Harbor.
You bet they were.
Yeah, I'm sure that's true.
Well, that's about all that I can come up with.
Well, that's a great story.